One of the coolest things we see from the Naruto series is 6 paths based powers. Essentially, it's Naruto's version of Dragon Ball's God Ki, but what is it really? Well, let's take a look and find out. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We've also noticed that a lot of people who are watching our videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. We know that YouTube does a good job of getting you the stuff you want to watch, but if you want to support us here at the Amagi, and if you don't want to ever miss a video again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. 6 Paths Chakra is the chakra that originated with Kaguya Otsutsuki. This chakra is received by either eating a chakra fruit, absorbing a 10 tails, or having a parent who possesses it. Maybe. Sometimes it happens. For Hamada and Hagoromo, they got it from their mother. But as for Indra and Ashura, it's not stated that Indra or Ashura ever had it, save Ashura after it was given to him by his father, Hagoromo. So how it's passed down is a question. But what is 6 Paths Chakra anyway? Theory 1. Yin-Yang Release. Yin-Yang Release is a very rare nature transformation that very few characters can even use. The only ones shown to use it are those who possess 6 Paths Senjutsu, or so we thought. Toneri Otsutsuki is one who possesses Truth Seeker Orbs, which is a telltale sign of Yin-Yang Release. However, it's undetermined if he actually possesses 6 Paths Senjutsu. After all, as far as we know, Otsutsuki aren't naturally born with 6 Paths power. That's why only a few of them possess the Rinnegan. So what happened? Well, he would either need chakra from all 9 beasts, a chakra fruit, or being birthed directly from someone who did. The only other method would be for him to be a reincarnation of Hamada or one of his children, with Hanabi being his sister at that time. That's the only explanation. As we see, he says all that is required is for an Otsutsuki to take the eyes of a Hyuga, and he mentions that Hanabi's Byakugan were pure. What does that mean? Does that mean simply that she has a connection to the Otsutsuki? To Hamada? Perhaps she's the perfect byproduct of exclusive breeding, keeping Hamada's genes relatively pure. We're never told exactly why this is, and we're never really shown a Tenseigan ever again. When Hanabi gets her eyes back, she doesn't retain the Tenseigan or anything, so what any of this means is unknown. One can speculate that Toneri somehow achieved 6 Paths Chakra by mixing his chakra with Hanabi's, just like how Madara gets his Rinnegan by mixing his chakra with Hashirama's. It's likely meant to evoke that, but it's never explicitly stated. The only way we even found out that he had 6 Paths power, or the way we speculated that he does, was because he had Truth Seeker Orbs. But let's move on. 6 Paths power doesn't seem to be granted to anyone who has Yin-Yang Release. The reason why I say this is that there are cases of people who utilized Yin-Yang Release and didn't gain 6 Paths Chakra. For one example, I would look to the Uchiha. The Uchiha had in times past utilized a technique that would soon become forbidden. It was called Izanagi. This technique had the ability to blur the line between illusion and reality. This technique is said to be a more practical use of the Yin-Yang Release creation of all things technique. So does this make it 6 Paths power? Well, no. It's generally separated from the parent ability because the parent ability uses Yin-Yang Release, and this ability simply mixes Yin Release and Yang Release. But, I mean, all the base parts are there. There's an old saying, if it walks like a sage of 6 paths, talks like a sage of 6 paths, and quacks like a sage of 6 paths, it's probably the sage of 6 paths. And this technique displays all the characteristics of a technique that utilizes Yin-Yang Release. It's even directly linked to a Yin-Yang Release technique regardless. Many Uchiha, of which one was Madara, utilized this technique to cheat death, and instead of awakening a Rinnegan as would normally occur with those who possess 6 Paths power, they simply went blind. Madara had to assimilate the chakra of Hashirama Senju, the Ashura incarnate, to awaken his Rinnegan. But one more thing that possibly shoots this down is something that Madara said. After Obito lost the 10 tails to Madara, Madara tried to coax him back to his side by telling him that if he joined him, he would teach Obito how to use Yin-Yang Release. Now, of course, it's highly possible, if not probable, that this is a lie, as Madara didn't plan to leave anyone outside of the Genjutsu, including Obito. I don't think Obito would want to be left out of it anyway, as Rin is in that Tsukiyomi. So this could be a bribe or a lie. Let's say for a moment that Obito Uchiha, the guy who just a second ago had the 10 tails inside of him, knew everything there was to know about yin-yang release because he could use it before. Does this mean that Madara was correct? It can be taught? Well, if so, there's more variables for us to dig through. It's possible that he planned to give him some, like the Sage of Six Paths did for Naruto and Sasuke. Or perhaps he could only teach Obito because Obito once had the 10 tails inside of him too. Or perhaps Obito could simply learn it. The thing is, if Madara said it, Obito would be smart enough to know whether it was true or false. I mean, to be frank, Obito did betray Madara, but if Madara were so smart, he would have known that Obito would have known. See my point? It's like lecturing an elf about Santa Claus. Theory number 2. Six Paths Chakra is its own thing. This theory suggests that Six Paths Chakra is separate from yin-yang release and that simply those with Six Paths Chakra learn to utilize it just as they do every other basic nature transformation. One of the foundations for this theory is that Six Paths Chakra can be and has been split into yin and yang halves. If Six Paths Chakra is simply yin-yang release, then separating it into yin release and yang release should negate everything that makes it Six Paths Chakra. And yet, this was the same power that Sasuke and Naruto used against Madara and Kaguya. In fact, it's the same that the Sage of Six Paths had with Hamada before absorbing their mother. Naruto had Six Paths Yang and Sasuke had Six Paths Yin. That's what the markings on their hands were. And when they put their hands together, they could use the Six Paths Chibaku Tensei. So, time to reach a conclusion. Does this mean that yin-yang release is what Six Paths Chakra is? Or does Six Paths Chakra merely grant knowledge of how to use yin-yang release? Well, I'm gonna give my opinion on this, and remember, it's an opinion, so you could theoretically say it's headcanon, but until Kishimoto-sensei gives us more info, we just gotta use our imaginations to make things connect. So, headcanon warning. I believe that Six Paths Chakra and yin-yang release are the exact same thing. I'm going to address why I think so according to the theories. The biggest issue with the Six Paths Chakra is its own thing theory is that it insinuates that the yin half and yang half are talking about the nature transformations. That simply isn't true, as Naruto possesses Truth Seeker orbs, which contain yin-yang release within them, which would be impossible if he only had yang release. Same for Sasuke, whose Onyx Chidori works similarly to a truth-seeking orb. So for them to only have yin release and yang release is impossible, as we already see them using yin-yang release separately. As for Tenari Otsutsuki, we're not told how he got it, but we know he had yin-yang release. We can assume that it has something to do with the crossing of Moon Clan and Hyuga Clan DNA and chakra, as it seemed very important that Hanabi's Byakugan were pure, insinuating that not just any Byakugan would work, but only a special one. So that's likely the explanation. It's all we have. Whether it's because she and he are reincarnates like Indra and Ashura, or whether their genes are just pure enough to match Hamada's almost perfectly is unknown. All I know is that the boy has it. Now, time to knock out two birds with one stone. Madara saying he can teach Obito to use yin-yang release, and the Uchiha's usage of the Izanagi. These two actually solve themselves when you lump them together. I think it's possible to teach someone to use yin-yang release, or at least something of the same effect. You see, we already know that Izanagi is just a weaker variant of the creation of all things technique, and the only difference is that one uses yin release alongside yang release, and the other uses yin-yang release. They both do the same thing and use the same parts. The only difference is that one uses two chakra releases instead of one. Any Uchiha can use this technique, meaning any Uchiha can use both the yin and yang releases together. While yin release added to yang release does not equal Six Paths Chakra as yin yang release does, it certainly does have very similar effects. And if you use it on top of Sage Mode, you've just got a dollar store ripoff that has the same function. Just as Sasuke can use water release alongside wind release to do similar jutsu to ice release, I believe yin and yang release together will have the same effects as yin-yang release, and therefore the same outcome technique-wise, just weaker. But further, Six Paths power is more than just yin-yang release. I mean, it is the same thing, but the important thing we're forgetting here is that yin-yang release needs one more aspect to become true Six Paths power, and that's the usage of Sage Mode. Those who utilize this power tend to do so in a form of Sage Mode. Their Truth Seeker orbs eradicate all ninjutsu except for Sage Jutsu. That's because Six Paths power is yin-yang release mixed with Sage energy. This is why it's so commonly known as six-path Senjutsu, with Senjutsu literally translating to sage techniques. Six-path sage techniques, people. It's why Hagoromo is called the Sage of Six Paths. Bro is always using sage energy. That's why Toneri had markings around his eyes in the last movie. He was in sage mode. It's why the sun almost killed him. He was sucking in too much sage energy and was about to die like the toads of Mount Myoboku who couldn't balance it. That's why it's my belief that those who utilize yin-yang release alongside sage chakra will have six paths power, and why yin release and yang release put together is what Madara promised to teach Obito. Now, as I said, this is all headcanon, but it's what I personally believe it to be. If you agree with me, yay. If not, well, I would love to hear your opinions on it down below. Until next time, peace out.
Did you enjoy our video? Well, then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.